Hello and welcome to this video. In this video we are going to work on solving some linear inequalities, okay? Hopefully this is a review skill for you, but it's always good to get a refresher. So if you look at this first inequality here, we are solving for t, and the first thing we want to do is subtract 1 from both sides. And then I'm going to have negative 8t is less than 16. And then to get t by itself, I need to divide both sides by negative 8. And with inequalities, remember that when you divide by a negative, you need to flip that inequality sign. So notice here I changed it to a greater than sign, and then 16 divided by negative 8 is negative 2. We will always take our inequalities and write them in interval notation. Okay, and so just as a reminder, okay, so if I have negative 2 here, and let's say 0 is here, this would be an open circle, and then I would go to the right, okay, on a number line graph. So in interval notation, that would be parentheses negative 2 to infinity. Okay, so let's keep going to the next one here. So this is another linear inequality that involves some fractions. The first thing you want to do is look at your denominators, and you want to find your least common denominator. So in this case that will be 12. And then I'm going to multiply each term by 12. So let me write this out. Okay, and then I can do some simplifying. 4 goes into 12 3 times, 6 goes into 12 twice, 12 goes into 12 once. Okay, and then I'm going to have a 3 that I will need to distribute to this y plus 3, and then a 2 that will distribute to the 3y plus 1, also would need to distribute the subtraction, and then negative 1. Okay, so let's do some distributing here. So I'll have 3y plus 9 minus 6y minus 2. Okay, and then combine like terms. I have like terms here and here, so that's going to be negative 3y. Combine like terms here and here, that's going to be 7. Okay, I'm going to come up here to continue. Then I need to subtract 7 from both sides, so I'm going to have negative 3y is greater than negative 8, and then I need to divide both sides by negative 3. Whoops, I almost forgot to flip my inequality sign there, going too fast. So that will flip because I'm dividing by a negative number, and I get y is less than 8/3. Okay, so in interval notation, I will have parentheses negative infinity comma 8/3 parentheses. Okay, this next one here is a compound inequality that is written in 3 parts. And notice that you have an inequality sign here and here. Okay, so you're really working 2 problems at once. So when I subtract 9, I want to make sure I subtract 9 from this side and this side. Okay, so that's going to give me a negative 15. And then I'm going to divide by negative 3. All right, and I need to flip those inequality signs because once again I am dividing by a negative. Okay, and notice that this one kind of came out a little backwards. Let's put it on a number line. So if here is 0, and here would be 3, and here would be 5. Okay, I would have an open circle on the 3, a closed circle on the 5, and then I would have the solutions would be everything in between. Okay, so my interval notation of this will be parentheses 3 to 5. Okay, just be really careful. Just notice that, because we flip those signs and with the division of the negative, then sometimes that will flip those numbers around. You have to be careful how you think about the answer. All right, so here's another set of compound inequalities. And notice that this one has or and this one has and. Otherwise, they are the same, okay? But something interesting happens on these that you need to think about. So if we're solving these, on this first one, we would add 6 to both sides. And you get n is greater than 7. And on this one, I can multiply both sides by 4. Okay, and that's going to simplify out that 4 there on the bottom. So then I have 3n is greater than or equal to 24. And then I would divide both sides by 3. And now I get n is greater than or equal to 8. Okay. Now since these are the same inequalities over here on this side, I'm going to get n is greater than 7. And I'm going to get, sorry about that, I'm going to get n is greater than or equal to 8. Okay. So let's talk about the or and the and. Okay. Now on this one on the left here, okay, if we graph it, I have a 0, a 7, and an 8. Okay. The first one, greater than 7, would be open circle and to the right. The second one, I'm just going to graph it a little bit above there, would be actually a closed circle and to the right. And I have to think about this or here. So my value of n just has to meet one condition or the other. So as long as it is, as long as n is greater than 7, change to black here, it is meeting one condition or the other. So my interval notation will be parentheses 7 to infinity. And that would be my answer for that problem with the or. Now over here on the right with the and, okay, I've got an open circle going to the right, and I've got a closed circle going to the right. But because of this and, my n value needs to meet both conditions. It needs to be greater than 7, and it needs to be greater than or equal to 8. So that is actually going to be n is greater than or equal to 8 as your final solution. And my interval notation will be bracket 8 to infinity. So with inequalities, you have to be very mindful of, especially when you're working with a compound inequality, of whether it's an or an and, because you can see here how the solution, all right, the solution can be different just because of the change in the or and the and. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.